It all starts with a person's inner monologue complaining how 20 years ago, he was forcefully sent to this world without any explanation, and ever since that day, he has been fighting for his life to survive in his hellish medieval landscape. A powerful explosion goes off, lighting up everything in the area. From within that explosion appeared a humanoid figure with red glowing eyes. And no, this isn't a monster, but our main protagonist. The monster is right before him, the final boss of this world, who showed surprise that a mere mortal was able to walk out of an attack of such caliber. In front of the creature are 4 individuals. The ugly bitch by the name of No One Cares, an old man who is a mage along with a side character no one asked for, and the one standing in the front, a knockoff version of Wukong, is our boy, the hero of this world named Hyun Seok, who was mocking the beast, asking if that was truly the full extent of its power. That obviously didn't sit well with the creature, so he prepared another powerful attack and lunged at our boy, who didn't even bother getting out of the way and went straight at the creature like a full-on psycho on drugs, and both of them clashed head-on. As for the side characters, instead of providing cover fire, they just stood there doing the one thing they did best, being dead weight. In the middle of their clashing, the creature let out a growl and warned the hero to step out of his way and submit. Otherwise, he was going to end up carved into pieces. Since the man didn't answer, the creature threw a bunch of purple flames his way, but then again, the man didn't even bother dodging. He just lifted his spear and started destroying all of those fireballs. From within that sea of fire, he emerged unharmed, unimpressed, and ready to end this little fight. With that, he pulled back his weapon as flames started to engulf the tip of the spear, and with one quick motion, he threw a massive fireball towards the giant monster, which was his signature move called Paradox Flame. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Despite looking like a starving homeless guy, there is a reason he is called the hero of this world. It is because, unlike a normal NPC, the dude is freaking badass, which even shocked the beast, since a mortal having that level of power shouldn't be possible. Next panel, and both sides started clashing in a violent back and forth. The shockwaves created from their fists colliding literally created sonic booms which shook the whole battlefield. But despite everything, the beast managed to find an opening, resulting in him landing a powerful slash on the man's body, causing him to be thrown back a little. Despite being able to block that hit, the monster managed to cause some serious damage to Hyun Seok. Knowing the man wouldn't be able to continue at 100% after receiving such severe wounds, the monster gave the man one last chance to submit, but the answer was the same. Go screw yourself. Just as the thing got in range, our boy activated another one of his fire attacks. This one is his ultimate move, which no monster, no matter how powerful, had been able to withstand. Next panel, and massive flames were seen shooting for the sky, with agonizing screams of the monster shaking the whole area. By the time it was finished, the beast was on the ground with our hero's spear jabbed right into its heart. Despite receiving such a fatal wound, the creature still had some life left in it. In his final moments, it praised our hero for exceeding its expectations because he was the first mortal in this world who walked out after witnessing his true power. Our boy reminded the thing what he told it earlier, that he wasn't from this world. The monster refused to believe his words, but it didn't matter, because according to the monster, this wasn't the last time they were going to meet. After his body gets absorbed into this land, he will rise back again. But then, in the middle of speaking, the monster noticed something off and paused. Turning toward our hero, he asked if he was being erased from this very existence, and the answer was yes. Turns out the fire our hero hit the monster with isn't any ordinary flame. They are called the Black Flames, his ultimate trump card. Unlike normal flames that use oxygen to burn, these things use the target's life force, or in other words, their soul, meaning there was no coming back for the monster. Our boy revealed he was well aware of how, over the past few hundred centuries, it had been constantly coming back to life after being defeated by heroes, which was why he came prepared for him. Despite being on its final breaths, the creature mocked our hero for going to such lengths for people who won't even remember him as a hero who saved this world. The reason was the 3 backstabbers standing behind him, who claimed to be his companions, but in reality they were just waiting for the chance to end him. Well, it turns out our hero was already aware of that, which also surprised the monster, so he asked why. Before our hero could answer the creature's question, the backstabbing bitch spoke up from the back, asking our hero not to believe the words of a monster. But our hero didn't even bother paying her any attention and told the monster he knows why that saintess kept trying to seduce him every day, claiming she had feelings for him. It was because she despises him with her very being for being an outsider who was chosen as the hero, and her attempts at seducing him were all part of her plan. When the time comes to purge the hero after the subjugation is over, he would hesitate to attack her, which would give her the chance she needed to stab him in the back. Turning to the woman, he asked if he was wrong, and the woman wasn't even able to open her mouth to deny it after realizing the man was aware of her intentions from the very beginning. The other two were no different. The knight had been ordered by the emperor to eliminate him once the mission was over, and as a reward he was to receive a national treasure. As for the mage, he was a deranged psychopath who enjoyed human experiments, and the reason he wanted our hero gone was because our boy opposed the slavery system, which meant no test subjects for him. After our hero was done speaking, the creature asked why he would risk everything for people like that, even knowing their intentions, since with his power he could have easily erased the whole world for turning their blades against him. The answer was simple. He didn't care about this world. He just wanted to go back home. That was when the monster realized this man wasn't lying when he said he wasn't from this world, so it asked how he ended up in this place. The story cuts back 20 years to the year 2005, to the time our hero was nothing more than an ordinary 30-year-old office worker who one day, while doing overtime, saw a blinding light appearing from his monitor screen, followed by a voice referring to him as the chosen hero who was destined to save the world from monsters. But unlike normal stories where the hero gets transmigrated to a fantasy-style magical world, the world our hero was thrown to was the complete opposite. In simple words, it was a disaster on its own. With that, time flew by and he tried every method imaginable to return to his own world, but the outcome was always the same. A voice in his head asking him to defeat the monsters and save the world. Cut a couple of years in the past when, after completing one of his missions, our hero arrived back in the city where he was stopped by two men keeping watch. The reason they stopped him was because of an unconscious child in his arms, a survivor he rescued from a nearby destroyed village. The look of disgust on those men's faces told him the whole story, but since he was the hero, they didn't say anything to his face and allowed him to pass. They weren't the only ones who thought that way. This world is filled with unbelievably cruel people who won't hesitate to hurt others if it helps them. While walking, our hero came across a doctor who was getting ready to chop off a man's leg because it got infected in the woods. Our hero could only feel bad for the man since the infection was easily curable if treated properly. Instead, he was about to lose his leg because this doctor did not even know the first thing about proper treatment. All the main doctors were mobilized into the battle, leaving no one qualified to care for the wounded back in the city. Just then, he heard a voice calling out to him, and when he turned around, he was met with this horrific scene where a priest was asking him about the child he was holding in his hand and how he survived because that kid was taken by the monsters. The nun standing beside the guy asked our hero to hand over that child to them because, according to her fucked up logic, the child survived because a demon took root within him, so they needed to exorcise him immediately. And guess the method of exorcism? Yeah, look behind her because they were already in the middle of exorcising some people they managed to find, and the scariest part was that she was saying that with a smile on her face. So after enduring this hell for the past 20 years, our hero is now a 50-year-old man who was shouting at the sky, calling out to the one who brought him to this world to rot, demanding they show themselves because he completed his mission. Hearing his voice, everyone looked up and saw a golden light appearing in the sky, and from within that light came a woman with wings, thanking our hero for saving the world from the monsters. Our hero wasn't in the mood for chit-chat, so he demanded the woman keep her part of the deal and send him back to his own world with his memories of this place intact. The woman, clearly amused, asked if that was truly what he wanted. After all, he had endured so much in this world to reach this stage where he had the power to even threaten her, but returning to Earth means he loses all of his powers and no one here would remember his name. Our boy could give a rat's ass about this world or these powers, so he told the woman to cut it with her act because he knows the one happiest about him leaving this world is her. He was right. And the woman didn't even bother hiding it because after the eradication of monsters, this world no longer needed a monster like him. So she got ready to send him back to Earth, though she did warn him she won't be able to return him in his original body because it would get destroyed in the process. With that, a blinding beam of light was shot at our hero, which started to destroy his body so his soul could be transferred to another vessel. At that last moment, he would ask the woman whose body he was going into, but for some reason the woman refused to answer that question and assured him he was going to get the answer to that question soon enough. Our boy, not even questioning if this woman was just trying to get rid of him, closed his eyes thinking to himself, as long as he returned to Earth, nothing else mattered. Cut to some other place and a person was seen slowly opening his eyes. From that cramped apartment and unfinished homework nearby, we already know it's our boy who, after surviving the hell, returned as a teenager. Getting up, he wonders where he was. That's when he spotted a mirror in the room, so he quickly walked up to it and saw his new face, a kid by the name of Yu Chansok. Seeing his reflection and the stuff around him, he realized he was truly back on Earth. So the first thing he did after coming back was stick his face under a water faucet to enjoy this cool, refreshing, clean water, something that was unheard of back in that mess of a world. Next up, no going out to the monster-infested woods to gather logs for making fire, and finally, the one and most important thing of them all, fried chicken. Seeing those glowing nuggets, our boy wasn't able to believe his eyes. To see if this really was real, he took a bite of the tasty piece of meat, and yep, it wasn't a dream. He truly was back home. As for the taste, the dude was straight up crying because he never thought the day would come when he could enjoy something that delicious again. But in the middle of his emotional sobbing, he failed to notice a bright light that was appearing in the middle of the city. Instead, he reached for the calendar and saw that it was the year 2025, 20 years after he was pulled to that other world, and he wondered how much the world had changed during the 20 years he was gone. Fast forward, and he was seen standing under a shower, enjoying a warm, refreshing bath. Coming out, the first thing he did was turn on the air conditioner because, of course, he missed these things. Not even bothering to look for clean clothes to put on, our hero slipped into that same dirty underwear and walked up to the window to take a look outside. Just as he was about to take in how peaceful everything seemed, he saw this terrifying creature climbing up the building. Yeah, he immediately jumped in surprise, seeing that hideous thing right outside his window and fell to the ground. As he lay there trying to process what was happening, an announcement echoed through the building warning residents about something called a corrosion rift that had appeared in the city, and the person on the other end instructed all residents to evacuate to the underground shelter. As Hyun was trying to wrap his head around what was going on, he noticed something else outside the window. The same monster, but now there were multiple of those things, and those creepy-looking creatures were giggling, watching our hero from the outside. And then it happened. Those creatures began forcing the glass to break, and before our boy knew it, his whole apartment got flooded by the monsters. But instead of heading to the underground shelter, our boy sprinted towards the roof of the building. As for the monsters, they weren't letting up and kept chasing after him. After a couple of floors, the things were still climbing, trying to catch up to their next meal, completely unaware that our boy had pulled a slick move on them and was hanging out of that window to mislead them. And it worked. Thinking he was safe, he turned around and prepared to head to the underground shelter, only to bump into some random kid casually walking through the hallway. Obviously, his first move was to ask the kid what he was doing out here with those monsters roaming around the whole place. But surprisingly, the kid, ignoring his question, asked our hero if he saw any of those monsters and where they went. And when asked why he was asking that question, the kid answered he was going to kill those things. Cut a few moments and both of them were seen walking towards the upper floors to find those monsters, with the kid explaining to our hero what was going on. Apparently, this whole monster stuff wasn't new. It started 13 years ago, so people were pretty much used to it by now. These things appear from gates called corrosion rifts, which could spawn at any place at any time with no warning. When they break, monstrous creatures poured out of them, and this was happening all over the world. After hearing that whole story, our boy was gritting his teeth while cursing that woman under his breath because he was sure she already knew what was going on in his original world, and she never warned him. As he was doing that, he heard the kid asking if he had been living under a rock or something, since this stuff was basically common knowledge around here. Our boy made up an excuse. He was living abroad and just got back, so he was just curious what the situation was like here. Quickly changing topics, he asked the kid about the hunter he kept mentioning and how strong they were. The kid happily told our boy about his crush, a woman by the name of Siyun from the Jambi Guild, ranked 10th on Earth, who uses a great sword to fight these monsters. According to news, right now she was in Churwin, dealing with a corrosion rift that appeared there. That got our boy wondering if humans of this world also possess special powers, like how it was back in that hellhole he escaped, and if so, would he be able to use his own powers? Before he could test it, he sensed a presence nearby and told the kid to stop talking. Surprised, the kid asked what he was doing. That was when he turned to see where our hero was pointing and saw a whole horde of those monsters walking around the place. Our boy quickly scanned the place and spotted 6 of those things. Not a bad number if he had his original powers, but right now he was inside the body of this weakling and had no clue if he could even access his powers, not to mention this kid that he needed to protect. Is this kid seriously crying? Wasn't he the one who dragged our hero out here looking for these creatures? Just then, as our hero was coming up with a strategy, he noticed something in the air, and when he focused, he realized the air around him was saturated with mana, the same energy he had used in his previous life to take down countless monsters. If that was the case, then it meant they might actually have a chance of surviving this nightmare. Cut to one of the monsters in the room, who noticed something strange appearing on the side of its face. And before it had the chance to process what it was, black flames engulfed half its body, and the thing started screaming in agony. As for the one responsible, our boy, who else? He managed to activate his paradox flame using that mana, and thanks to that, the thing was reduced to nothing more than piles of ashes on the ground, along with the remaining monsters that were standing near it. Watching those creatures burning, the kid immediately changed his opinion about our hero because at first he thought he was just some weird guy, but now, seeing him use that cool skill, he looked like he could explode with excitement. And guess what his stupid ass did after that? He started running into the room to use his stick to finish the job, which was something he learned from YouTube where someone said you should always confirm the kill. But the problem was those flames weren't ordinary fire, and if that kid got close to those monsters, he might also get caught in them too. And it was just as he had feared. One of the monsters was still alive, and even in its condition, it lunged at the boy to bite him to shreds. Next panel, and it was all over, or so they thought, because the kid was still standing there watching everything in shock. As for that blood, it belonged to our hero, who risked his own hand to stop that monster. But instead of scolding the kid for doing something so stupid, he told him to stop watching YouTube because that thing was making him stupid. With that out of the way, he asked the boy to hand him his little stick. And the reason he was asking that was because he had already sensed the presence of more of those monsters that got drawn to this place because of all that commotion. Just as they got in range, his 20 years of trauma kicked in, resulting in our boy moving like a flash and literally carving those monsters into pieces using a wooden stick. I mean, how does a stick cutting monsters like a sword even make sense? Well, at least he managed to impress the kid with that move and got himself his first ever fan. Hyped, the kid asked if our hero was a hunter. Our boy, though, wasn't even responding anymore. And the reason was because he was furious at that lady who tricked him and sent him to this world on purpose, knowing full well this world was overrun by monsters. The whole reason he had wanted to return to Earth so badly was because he hoped to live a normal life, far away from all the bloodshed. Cut to the underground shelter of the building. where a bunch of individuals were seen waiting for news from the outside about those monsters and if someone got rid of them. Just then, the door to the place suddenly slid open, and in came our hero with his new fan who was calling the kid a brat for putting him through so much trouble. That was when he noticed a panicking female calling out to the kid from the crowd. It was his mother who thanked our boy for saving her son. Seriously, how unbelievably irresponsible do you have to be, taking shelter in this safe area knowing your toddler is out there somewhere with all those monsters roaming around the building? But our boy was more focused on how the woman was dressed and those expensive earrings she was wearing because it was clear this brat was some rich kid, which explains why he was so reckless and stupid. Just as he was thinking that, the whole building suddenly started to tremble violently. But it wasn't an earthquake, it was something else. And that something else apparently had a massive fist, which it used to smash through the wall of the shelter. Next panel, and a massive hulking beast appeared in the room, causing everyone to panic. The creature, seeing an all-you-can-eat buffet, opened its jaws and let out a deafening roar. But after the kind of things our boy had seen in that other world, this was nothing. On top of that, he was going through an emotional mess, and judging by that face he was making, that monster appearing at this time wasn't helping his mood either. Not sure what to do anymore, he turned towards the kid and asked why he was so desperately trying to become a hunter. After all, he was rich and could easily hide out somewhere safe and live comfortably. Song told our boy about his father, who lost his life by the hands of one of these monsters. As for finding a safe place in this world, it was impossible because his father was killed inside of a secure bunker where a rift appeared one day when he was hiding with some other survivors. That was why he was trying so desperately to grow stronger, so he could eradicate these monsters and save the world. With that, his mother came and asked the kid to stop wasting time and run, but the boy refused to leave without his big bro. Then it happened. Both of them froze, hearing a loud explosion behind them. Fearing the worst, the kid quickly turned around to see what had happened, only to find our hero standing face to face with what was left of the monster, who was telling the kid he can't become a hunter who will save this world no matter how hard he tries, because that role belonged to him. He's the one who was going to eradicate these things. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and our hero was seen in his room doing something on his computer. If you are thinking he is researching monsters and stuff, then think again, because our boy was busy playing League of Legends and he had been doing that all week. As for his epic speech in front of the kid, yeah, he never did it. He lost interest almost instantly once the adrenaline wore off, and all he had been doing until then is eat, sleep, and play video games. His reasoning is simple. He had already saved the world once, so now he was going to let someone else take the spotlight. After that small victory in the game, our boy picked up his phone to order some food to celebrate. Yeah, that was when his eyes landed on the numbers on his bank account, and he froze because he burned through most of the previous owner's savings and was almost completely broke. To make it worse, finding a job in this new world was extremely difficult because of all those monsters running around destroying everything, since most of the companies had already gone bankrupt, leaving him with only one last option, and that was to become a hunter. Cut to the Hunter Association building, where the inside was packed with individuals with awakened powers who came to apply as hunters. In that same crowd, a smug-looking guy was seen clearly looking down on the people around him because he awakened something above average, and was commenting that the standard of the Hunter Association had dropped for them to be letting such trash take the hunter's exam. In that same place, another female character entered and immediately caught the attention of everyone around her. What do you know? It was Lee Se-yoon, the same girl our little Song has a crush on, and I can see why. Turns out the reason she personally came for this recruitment test was because she was sent here by her guild to examine a candidate who was said to participate in the test and recruit that person into their guild. And everyone was wondering who this lucky person could be. We are shown a female by the name of Han Sang-ah, a bright and talented awakener who graduated from Hunter's Academy, possesses a special ability of electrokinesis, and uses a sword in battle. Se-yoon was sent here to evaluate this girl's abilities, and judging by the face she was making while reading through her file, the girl didn't seem impressed. But the man beside her asked the woman to give the kid a chance because she was the top scorer of this year. As the first man was trying to explain to the woman how talented this kid was and blah blah, the one sitting on the other end suddenly started shouting that hunting and corrosion rifts was real combat. So even if she had excelled at the academy, it did not mean she could handle real fights. Yeah, it turns out he was just sucking up to the girl, and it worked. So as a reward, she handed the man some candy to suck on it instead and stopped screaming. But still, she knew the guy wasn't wrong. No matter how talented a person is, real combat was where their true strength showed. Just then, an announcement came through informing the audience that the first match was about to begin. But in the middle of reading through the details, the man noticed something strange about the first candidate, because unlike the rest of the participants, he was just a civilian with no prior training from the Hunter Academy. And yes, he was talking about our boy, who was getting really uncomfortable with so many people gathered around to watch him fight. As for his opponent, it was some blonde kid, also a spear user, but the announcer didn't even bother introducing his name or anything and went for the rules instead. First rule, no outside weapons allowed. They can only use the ones provided by the association. Second, inflicting life-threatening injuries is prohibited. With that out of the way, he ordered both contestants to move to their positions, and just as he gave the signal, the blonde bolted at our boy to end it quickly. And of course, he didn't forget to badmouth our boy before running to his imminent death. Our boy, on the other hand, didn't even bother reacting to his cocky rant. He just stood there waiting for the man to get closer. Just as he was about to drive that thing through his body, our boy vanished completely. This obviously surprised the fool because he didn't even see what happened. That was when he heard a voice from the side commenting on how clumsy he was with that spear. Before the guy could even react, boom, our hero literally dug his fist into his stomach with no hesitation. He wasn't planning on stopping there. He followed up with a stomp on the guy's foot. The reason he did that was because he was looking out for the guy so he wouldn't go flying out of the stage. And why would he do that, you may ask? Because he was planning on delivering a thunderous punch under the poor kid's chin. Yeah, that was it. The fool wasn't just seeing stars at this point. He was seeing whole galaxies spinning in front of his eyes. As for the crowd, everyone froze, but the one most confused was our hero because he didn't even do anything. He just landed 2 hits and this guy was already out. That got him wondering if this could be the average for a hunter in this world, and if so, this is just pathetic. Meanwhile, to the side, Se-yoon had her jaw hanging after watching our boy fold that noob like a lawn chair. So she asked her goons if they were sure this kid used to work at a factory and never received any training, and the men answered yes. On top of that, they never saw that kid use his mana during that fight and were sure he just got lucky. But the woman just tossed another candy bar at his face, and the reason was she wanted the guy to shut his mouth. She quickly contacted someone, saying that this kid was intentionally not using mana for the fight, which made no sense because the strength he just showed should be impossible without using skills or mana. Back in the arena, it turns out that Blonde was still conscious after that beating, and our boy was getting ready to change that. Just before swinging his fist, he assured the man he would try to make this as painless as possible. Yeah, the fool tried to forfeit, but no chance our boy was stopping. Next panel, a loud bone-cracking sound rang through the whole place with the guy plopping to the ground. The announcer declared our hero the winner of the match. Cut to the audience, and a bunch of men were seen discussing our hero and his performance, which caught Se-yoon's eye. The reason she was showing interest in these people was because they were also scouts, sent by different guilds to look for talented individuals. Since it was clear those men were interested in our hero as well, she decided to make her move and bag that kid for herself before anyone else. Watching her leave, her associate asked the woman where she was going because the second round was about to begin. The woman answered, saying she was going to have a little chat with the association president. Cut to our boy, who mopped the floor with the second opponent as well without even breaking a sweat. Then came the third punching bag, same story. 1-punch knockout. By the 4th stage, our hero was starting to get bored because all of these people were pathetically weak, even compared to the weakest monsters he had to fight in the other world. Just as he was hoping for a decent fight, a candidate stepped into the ring, and almost immediately, the crowd started complimenting her for her beauty and talents because she was the reason all of them came to see this tournament in the first place. Yep, that same Hansang, the one with Pikachu's powers. As for the crowd, all of them took the woman's side almost immediately and were sure she was going to end our hero's winning streak. Yeah, no. Although she possessed more mana than the ones our boy faced earlier, she was nothing special. Seeing him openly mocking her, the woman wasn't exactly thrilled. On top of that, she was sure our hero just got lucky until now because this whole time she never sensed any mana from his body, so she was confident he won't stand a chance against her. But since our hero clearly wasn't in the mood for a chat, she reached for her blade to end this quickly. Although, she did warn him she wasn't planning on holding back just because he didn't possess any special skills or mana. Yeah, if only she knew the terrifying skill our hero was hiding, and the only reason he wasn't using it was because he knew a weakling like her won't be able to survive it. Cut to Sang-ah, who was getting ready to activate her skill. This girl straight up copied Zenitsu from Demon Slayer, and like a flash of light, she charged at our boy to carve him in two. Yeah, something like that wasn't enough to stop our hero, and he easily managed to get out of the way with just a simple leap. The girl froze, unable to believe her eyes at what she just witnessed because, before that day, no one had ever been able to dodge that attack. As for our hero, he was just thinking how that girl boosted her speed using her electricity. And no, it wasn't her body that was moving at that speed, but her blade because she used her electricity and ran it through her blade to make it magnetic. After which she added magnetic force to the power of drawing the sword, turning it into a railgun. Hope that makes sense because all I got from all that was electricity makes you faster. Our boy though wasn't impressed because this girl still had a lot to learn about real combat. Surprised, she asked what he was trying to say. Our hero began lecturing the girl about her critical mistake. In order to accelerate her drawn sword even faster, she laid down a magnetic rail in the air, and that was something he saw coming from a mile away. So of course he managed to dodge her attack. Watching him look down on her, the girl wasn't happy, and in her anger, she launched a wave of electricity towards our hero. But then again, our hero called her an idiot for making the same mistake even after he explained to her that the trick wasn't going to work against him. Yeah, no, the girl was at her limit at that point, and she didn't even care anymore and charged in with her full power. As a result, the arena started to crumble into pieces, seeing how far she was pushing herself. Our hero knew he needed to stop that stupid girl because if this continued, she was going to end up wrecking her whole body. With that in mind, he closed the distance and told the girl it was a cool little light show, but it was time to end this. And just before swinging, he told the girl that if at any point his punches start to hurt, she just needed to raise her hand. Next panel, bam, no hesitation, no mercy, no nothing. He didn't even consider that she is a girl and went all out and probably rearranged her insides. Yeah, since she had already seen his previous matches, the girl knew she was screwed, and it was just as she had thought. The dude started throwing fists left and right all over her body while she was still midair. Only, and I repeat only, when he was satisfied pummeling the girl, he delivered a fist to her face, smashing her to the ground with tremendous force. Oh man, look at her face. She's done. What happened to Rule 2? No inflicting life-threatening injuries. And why isn't anyone stopping this match? All of them are just staring at that psychopath railing at that poor girl without any mercy. Well, with that out of the way, our heroes started walking out while thinking how weak that woman was, who only relied on her mana and went down with just that. Yeah, he actually said that. Someone needs to tell this maniac that not everyone spent 20 years fighting monsters in a hellish world. But then he heard a weak whimper of the girl from the back, so he turned to see what it was, only to see her raising her hand, signaling that really hurt. That actually brought a smile to his face because he was the one who told her to do it if it hurt, and she actually did it. Just then, he noticed another man running towards the referee, after which he whispered something into his ear, and whatever it was, it had the man surprised. After listening to everything, the man announced that the tournament was being temporarily brought to a stop and asked everyone to stay in their seats. As for our hero, he was to take a short break and wait for his next opponent. That surprised our boy because he was certain his match with that girl was the final round of the tournament. Before he had the chance to ask, he heard the man announcing that in a moment, the winner of the match would be facing off against an actual hunter, which obviously surprised everyone because this was the first time they were hearing about something like that. As for our hero, the moment he saw his opponent walking up the stage, he knew something was up because this person clearly planned the whole setup herself to test his abilities. As for his opponent, Seyun herself, the 10th ranked hunter of this world. But surprisingly, she wasn't forcing our boy. Instead, she gave our boy a chance to choose if he wanted to take her on or not. Hearing her words, our boy fell into thought because, sensing the aura her body was giving off, it was clear she was no ordinary awakener. With his current body, he wasn't sure if he would be able to take her on. But in the end, he said screw it and agreed to her challenge, which surprised the rest of the people, but not like they get a say in the matter. So they got ready to witness this kid getting yeeted to his next life by the hands of Seyun. But for our boy, this was the perfect chance to test the true extent of his power. On top of that, thanks to all those weak opponents, he never got to show off in front of such a big crowd. So he was actually looking forward to this match since she was the perfect opponent for him to finally let loose. Next chapter, and everyone was watching the match in amazement. The reason was that neither of them was holding back, especially Seyun. That woman was hammering our hero with no mercy. As for the kid, he could only wonder how a woman's body could produce this amount of strength, which is kinda sexist, I know, but he said it, not me. Well anyway, refusing to lose to a girl, our hero fired back and channeling his inner main character energy, he managed to push her back. But still, the problem was his speed was getting a lot more sluggish because of all the exhaustion that had built up. Not to mention, the girl wasn't even showing any signs of sweating, whereas he, on the other hand, was completely at his limit. Secondly, even after spotting so many openings, his body wasn't able to keep up, so he hadn't even been able to land a single hit on her. Seeing his condition, Seyun showed disappointment because she was hoping for a little more challenge from him, but he was already starting to tire out. This woman is absolutely crazy because both of them had been locked in non-stop combat for the past 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 whole minutes, but even that isn't enough to satisfy her. Since it was clear our hero was in no shape to keep going, she prepared to end the battle with one final strike. Seeing her coming, our boy braced himself because he was completely out of mana and had even burned through all the mana that was around him in the air. Since it was clear he had no other choice, he prepared to use his trump card, and that was Paradox Flame. Just then, as the girl was about to slice him in two, she noticed something. As for our hero, he barely managed to move out of the way. Damn, this woman isn't holding back. He definitely would have been done for if that attack had landed on his head. Well anyway, he managed to leap out of the way and landed into the distance, and that caught her by surprise because she was aiming to end the match with that last attack, so he shouldn't have been able to dodge it. But somehow this kid was still standing. On top of that, she saw our hero covered in some strange dark flames, so she asked what that was. Our hero didn't mind explaining and told the woman this was his special skill called Paradox Flame. As for why this flame wasn't harming him, it was simple. Unlike normal flames, these black flames don't burn matter. Instead, on his body they burn abstract concepts. Wow, this is a new one. Well, whatever. Turns out he can burn different concepts like self-memories or reason, which have high ignition points. But he chose not to, obviously because that was too dangerous. Instead, he was burning through his fatigue. Yeah, the dude is literally burning through his exhaustion to recover. As for the woman, she also noticed the kid getting faster with each hit, and she couldn't help but wonder why because no one should be able to recover this fast. But there was no time to think, so she fired back with her own barrage of attacks, forcing our boy on the defensive. But then it happened again. She noticed another strange thing. The mana in the air kept fluctuating between high and low, and she wondered what could be causing that. The cause was obviously our boy and his overpowered skill. This skill wasn't just burning through his fatigue. It was creating more mana around him for his body to absorb to grow stronger. Basically, it worked like any normal flame. When fire burns through matter, it releases heat. Paradox Flame releases mana as it burns through abstract concepts. In simple words, he was using mana to ignite the Paradox Flame, and the Paradox Flame, in turn, was burning his fatigue to generate more mana for him to absorb. Kinda like an endless cycle. Yeah, that's way too OP. Well, anyway, that didn't mean Siyun was going to back away. It just made her even more fired up, and she literally started destroying everything that came into her path to get to our hero. But the fool was like a cockroach that just won't die, no matter how much she crushed him. So she asked how long he was planning on keeping this up. Smirking, our hero told the girl he still had plenty of gas left in the tank, so he could keep going for a while. And the Chad actually had the guts to ask that absolute powerhouse who can fold him like paper anytime she wanted if she liked guys who didn't know when to quit. Yeah, no, she absolutely despises those kinds of men. We are told a little bit more about this skill, and it turns out it isn't as overpowering as it first seemed. To put it simply, imagine setting a tree on fire. As the flames burn through the wood, only ashes are left behind. And since ashes cannot be burned again, the fire will eventually go out. The same concept applies to Paradox Flame. Once everything it can burn is used up, it has nothing left to consume, and that is when the flame disappears. Fast forward 4 hours and 17 minutes. Our boy was on the ground, the woman with unlimited stamina, asking if he was good for round 2. But our boy was so exhausted that he didn't even have the energy to say a word, so he just signaled with his hand that he forfeited the match. To that, the girl reached into her coat and brought out a big-ass lollipop for him to lick, and the moment her subordinate saw her bringing out that thing, both of them froze. I still have no idea what's so special about handing out candy. Well, whatever. She even had her business card with that thing and asked our boy to give her a call when he recovers. Waving goodbye, she said there was something important she wanted to discuss with him, so she would be waiting for his answer. Fast forward, and our boy was biting down on a lollipop like an animal while checking out an app on his phone that was linked to his hunter license. And that amazed him because back when he was pulled out of this world, they used to hand those things out on paper, but now everything was right in the palm of his hand. While walking, he heard someone call out to him. Looking up, he saw a muscular man standing before him, asking if he was Chansok. Our boy answered yes and asked for the man's identity. Instead, the guy handed him his business card, and upon reading it, our hero saw that this guy was also a partner hunter like that psycho lady Siyun, and his name is Yusong Hyeon of the Tarbark Guild. The reason he came after him was obvious. He wanted to scout our hero for his own guild, promising a good pay. Yeah, a good pay was tempting, but not as tempting as a tall waifu who wants to end you. So our boy fell into thought, and after thinking for a bit, he slipped his card into his pocket and told the guy he needed a little time before making a decision. The man had no objection to that, so he prepared to head out. But just before leaving, he placed his hand on our boy's shoulder and, getting close to his face, literally threatened our boy to think carefully before making any decision. Yeah, our boy didn't even know what just happened. Was that a warning, a threat, or was this just the way humans say please in 2025? Whatever it was, one thing was certain. No way in hell he was joining a guild with a psycho like that. Cut to our waifu, who got a call from our boy telling her he wanted to have a chat and asked where they could meet. She told him about a cafe by the name of The Hut, where she was right now, and asked him to meet her there. Cut to the hut, and inside, the first thing our boy saw was this radiant smile of a potential waifu, who welcomed him into her hut. Just then, he spotted Siyun sitting in one of the seats, motioning for him to come over and sit down. Seeing his face, the woman knew something was up, so she asked if everything was all right. Our boy told her about the musclehead he bumped into earlier, who tried to threaten him into joining his guild. He didn't even have to say the name because she already knew he was talking about Hyeon. And with that guy setting his sights on him, she told our hero to forget about any other guild approaching him. Smirking, our boy asked if her guild was also in that list, but the woman plainly told him no. On top of that, she never said she wanted to recruit him into her guild in the first place. Confused, our boy asked what all that beating she gave him was for if she didn't want to recruit him. Instead of answering, she suggested our hero stop thinking about joining any guild altogether and work as a freelance hunter instead. She explained that Hyeon was probably thinking of offering him a junior position in his guild, and she advised against it. Our boy had no clue what this junior position was, so he asked the girl to explain. Surprisingly, she didn't mind and started explaining how guilds worked in this world. First things first, ranks for hunters belonging to a guild are usually divided into 3 levels: junior, senior, and partner. Partner is the highest level a hunter can reach in a guild, who is in charge of junior and senior partners, who in turn are in charge of senior hunters and junior hunters. Partner hunters, such as herself, are special because they have shares in the guild instead of a salary. They share the net profit the guild earns, unlike the remaining hunters who have fixed salaries. So basically, she was asking him to work as a freelance hunter because that way he would have more opportunities to grow stronger and meet new people, unlike hunters from a guild who are bound by a contract. Our hero instantly caught on to what she was trying to say. He needed to go out, make a name for himself, and become famous, after which these guilds would come running with better deals or even a partnership contract. Yeah, that was exactly what she meant, and as a reward for catching on so quickly, she handed our boy another candy. By now, our hero was really starting to wonder why this woman keeps handing out sweets to everyone. Although he agreed with her, there was still one problem. Without proper connections or channels, it was going to be hard for him to find any decent requests. He didn't need to worry about that because she was personally going to make sure he gets the best assignments free of charge. Of course, our boy knew there is nothing free in this world, so he asked the woman what the catch was. Nothing major, just in the future, once he has built enough of a reputation to be recruited by a major guild, she just wants him to remember there was a place called Janabi. In simple terms, she was putting him in her debt so she could recruit him into her own guild after he had gained enough levels. She did, however, tell our boy she wasn't forcing him to do anything. At the end of the day, it was his choice. After she was done speaking, she slid a file across the table, telling him to take a look. Reading through the details, he saw that it was a request from Incheon City about a place called Jiadondo Island, where a corrosion zone had formed 2 years ago after a failed attempt to eliminate a corrosion rift. They were looking for hunters who would scout that area and get rid of any new corrosion rifts that might have appeared in that place. Damn, this is chapter 3, and we are already at Jeju Island arc. Turns out the mission started in 1 month, and the pay was 5 million won up front, with an additional 15 million upon success. But considering this is a life-threatening job, the pay wasn't exactly that great. But the thing was, he didn't get to choose a job. If he thinks this is unfair, then he needed to get stronger and more famous, and the money would start flowing into his pockets, even if they were already full. After explaining his situation, the girl asked for his answer. Fast forward, and a limousine was seen speeding through the highway. Inside, Seon was on a call with someone who was asking about our boy. She told him everything. His name, how he is a civilian who cleared a weapons mandatory tournament with his bare hands. The guy answered, "Not bad." The girl told him that the phrase "not bad" wasn't appropriate to use because this kid lasted 4 hours against her, but the man was sure she wasn't giving it her all and limited her powers. Seon reminded the man she was a battle-hardened veteran hunter with 10 years of experience, and all of her experiences had been built upon surviving hellish places. Normally, she should have been able to toy with him, but not like this. The fact that he lasted 4 hours against her said a lot. The man agreed, but he was still curious as to why she handed him this specific mission, because she knew they were only recruiting veteran hunters for this job. He was sure no matter how skilled this kid is, the other hunters won't appreciate working with a complete newbie who has no idea what he is doing. Seon had already thought of that, so she assured the man not to worry because she paired that kid with some reliable people. With that out of the way, he asked the woman what her views were on that boy and how strong he might become once he reached her level. The girl told the man he might not like the answer to that question, but if that kid manages to reach that point, he would be strong enough to take down him and the rest of their guild all by himself. Cut back 1 month earlier, and a delivery man was seen bringing a large package to apartment 15-6, which I assume belongs to our hero. As for the thing, it even had the delivery guy confused because it was just too heavy, and he wondered what it could be. Cut to the inside, and our boy was seen sitting in front of the massive thing and showing surprise because even he didn't expect it to be this long. As for what the thing is, it's a massive spear which our boy ordered online even though he was almost out of money, so it makes no sense how he could even afford something like that. Not just that, he even ordered a bunch of mana elixirs for training his body. But before getting into why he needed mana potions when he could literally draw mana from the air around him, there is something important about mana in this world that you need to know. To start it off, this mana potion is made of condensed mana that hunters could use to quickly replenish their energy. A typical hunter stored mana inside their body, kind of like a water tank, and used it whenever needed. Our hero, on the other hand, doesn't do that. He skips the storage process and breathes in mana like air from his surroundings. The advantage to this is that as long as there is mana around him, he could keep fighting without worrying about running out. That's just one of the advantages. The second advantage is that with his body constantly absorbing and releasing mana, his mana channels gradually grew stronger and wider, allowing him to handle more mana at once and making his attacks far more powerful. This is exactly why he ordered these mana potions, because he didn't have much time before his first mission, and he needed to grow his mana channels as much as possible with the time he has. So he planned to drink the potions to replenish his body with mana and constantly push it through his channels by releasing it again and again. Hopefully, that explained it. Cut back to the present, and the hunters were showing their identifications to the man in charge and being assigned to their teams. Our boy was quietly listening to their whispering from the back, and honestly, all of these guys are a bunch of cowards who just want to get this over with. Just then, our hero heard a voice calling out to him, and when he turned around, he saw Sang-ah standing there. That wound on her shoulder doesn't look good. Hopefully, it wasn't caused by our boy pummeling her to the ground during the test. The girl greeted our boy, saying both of them were on the same team and hoped both of them would get along well. But our boy refused to work with someone who was obviously weaker than him, and the girl didn't take that personally and replied she was aware of that, which was why she was planning on following his lead in hopes of learning something from him. Our boy, playing hard to get, threw out some lines saying how his shoulders are about to fall off from all this weight of responsibility. The girl didn't get the joke and thought he meant his shoulders literally were about to fall off, and asked if he was suffering from chronic dislocation. She reminded him he needed to take good care of himself because how can she rely on him if he can't even use his spear properly with his weak shoulders? As they were doing that, they heard the man in charge call for their team to gather around, and since their team had 2 newcomers, he prepared to brief them on the mission. He started by explaining the ranks of corrosion rifts, which are classified as Class 1 to 3, and at the very bottom is unclassified. Pretty self-explanatory. Class 1 is the most dangerous, with unclassified being the easiest. Additionally, the first corrosion rift to appear in a specific area is given the name Alpha, and the Alpha Rift of this island is located near a church in the northern part of Insari, which is an unclassified corrosion rift. But despite that rift being unclassified, the man instructed the gang to refrain from approaching that church, because these unclassified corrosion rifts have a chance of growing stronger over time. As for their mission, it is to patrol Yufneri and Gyodong Mayan. Man, what is up with these names? They are a mouthful. I don't even know how he's pronouncing them. Back to the story. They are tasked with identifying and eliminating any additional corrosion rifts that may have appeared around these areas. With the explanations out of the way, our boy, along with Sang-ah, prepared to head out, with a final announcement from the man instructing them to report to the control room on the offshore side of the island if they ran into any trouble. Fast forward, and our boy was seen standing near his team as all of them came up with a plan to scout the area. That's when they heard our boy's voice calling out to them. Turning around, they heard our boy proposing his own plan and suggested they set up a base at Wegyesa Temple. Obviously, no one was planning on taking orders from a newbie they hardly knew, so they refused. But our boy, being the reasonable one, asked the men to at least hear him out first, and to be fair, he had a pretty solid plan. The place they were heading to is high enough for a vantage point from where they can keep an eye on their whole area. On top of that, the old temple building there was still standing, which would give them cover from the rain and other elements. But you know, sometimes it happens in life. A person gets stuck with dodgy bastards who just make everything harder for the rest because of their ego. Well, anyway, our boy just kept staring at the 2 fools while thinking to himself how idiots who defy logic exist in every world. So in the end, he decided to go his separate way. Cut a couple of minutes and they were making their way towards the destination with Sang-ah and another guy, who also ended up tagging along with them. That made our hero a little suspicious because Sang-ah following him made sense, but why would this guy follow a newbie like him instead of going with pros? So he directly asked the man the reason. The guy named Kim Min, he answered he was just worried about the 2 of them because they were newbies. Hearing his reason, our boy thanked the man while thinking, at least he managed to come across one decent person here. But then he spotted something and stopped, after which he signaled the 2 of them not to make any noise. Confused, the guy asked why they were stopping all of a sudden, so our boy told him to take a look ahead. The man did as told, peeped through the corner, and sure enough, a whole bunch of goblin-looking creatures were camping in their path. Seeing their numbers, he suggested they take another route because there were just too many of those things. Our hero was planning something else, so he asked the man to calm down, after which he asked what kind of skills he can use. He immediately caught on that the guy was planning on taking on those monsters, so he tried reasoning with our hero, but was reminded they were hunters whose job was to eradicate those monsters. He asked him once more what his unique skill was. Seeing his expression, the man told him he can use flame-based abilities, so our boy asked about his strongest fire attack, which was a fireball. That was all he needed to hear, so he told the man to get in position and wait for his signal. But the man still tried telling him to reconsider because there were almost 50 of those monsters, but instead heard Sang-ah asking for her role. Seeing that both of them were dead set on doing this, the man told them both to think for a minute because this was their first ever mission and they were being too reckless, and suggested they radio for backup instead. Our boy told him there was no use because the other hunters won't be able to reach them on time. Turns out, unlike the 3 of them who were in the middle of this hellhole, the rest of the hunters were scouting the coast of the island. Our boy also pointed out this was a good chance for them to take out these monsters, because if they scattered while they are waiting for backup, they would become a threat to the other hunters. Minnie knew the kid was not wrong. If those things entered the thick forest, they would be much harder to spot and could become a serious threat to the other hunters. On top of that, after their earlier conflict, there was no guarantee their teammates would even come for their aid. With the man on board, our hero suggested they launch a surprise attack at those monsters, after which he started explaining the plan to them. After hearing what the kid had in mind, he was pretty impressed by how well he had thought of everything. Only someone who has experienced battles like this countless times could come up with a plan like this, which got him wondering, just who the hell is this kid? Cut to the goblins, who heard some movement nearby, so they turned to see what it was, only to see a blonde man doing an unnecessary jump while shooting a fireball at them. As a result, he managed to land a direct hit and took out several of those things with that one attack. But since his attack had a cooldown time, he asked our boy to take over until he was ready for another attack. Our boy didn't mind and jumped right in the middle of those monsters and started carving through anything that came in his path. One goblin managed to sneak up on him, but our boy was just too fast, and he managed to take the thing out before it could get close. Then came the turn of another one that was watching him from the side, so our boy leaped at the thing, but it turned out that it was just a distraction. The one aiming for these monsters was someone else, and they struck, chopping all the monsters in the blink of an eye. After taking out several of those things, Sang-ah also needed time to recover her mana for another attack, and lucky for her, Minhee was already done charging up his fireball, so he shot the thing right in the middle of the horde. resulting in a massive explosion. Luckily, our boy managed to move out of the way just in time, but he wasn't done. So he immediately plummeted back to the ground to finish off the rest of the monsters. Fast forward who knows how long, and our boy was seen standing in the middle of the battlefield, looking all cool, showing his biceps to Sang-ah after taking out all those monsters. As for Minhee, he was shooting the monster corpses with some kind of tag to mark them as his own, so later his junk dealer friend would be able to find the thing. That junk dealer part surprised our boy, so he asked what he meant by that. Minhee explained they are like a collecting team who would arrive at this island after their mission is over to collect these corpses and other valuable items, after which they appraise the items and sell them to split the profit, where they would keep a commission based on the contract and the rest goes back to the hunter who implanted the chip. Our boy asked how he could trust these people. Minhee answered, "You can't. You just need to find a good junk dealer who won't screw you over." As they were doing that, they failed to notice that they were being watched by someone or something from the distance. Thinking that they had dropped their guard, a massive bat-like creature lunged at the three, but luckily our hero managed to move himself and Minhee out of the way. Surprised, they turned around to see what it was and saw the massive thing standing there howling at all of them. This creature was definitely a problem because the amount of mana it was giving off was on a completely different level from those small fries they just took out, and our hero was wondering if this thing could be their leader. But knowing this fight wasn't going to be easy, he shouted for the two to stay out of his way and let him handle the creature. No way they were going to let him face that thing on his own, so both of them refused. But our boy wasn't taking no for an answer, so he shouted for both of them to just do as they were being told, asking if they wanted to go home and body bag. That scared both of them, and they fell silent and decided to just do as he was saying. Our boy, on the other hand, had a plan, but for it to succeed, he couldn't let anyone interfere because that would only slow him down, since that plan included using his special flames. So if anyone else got caught in the crossfire, things would get messy. Fast forward, and Minhee was standing there ready to provide assistance to our hero if things started going south. But Sang-ah assured the man there was no need because even though it looked like Chanseok was being pushed back, that creature hadn't been able to land a single hit on him yet. That wasn't the only thing bugging our girl, because this kid was unbelievably fast. Even her, with her special abilities, wouldn't have been able to dodge those attacks from that monster. But he was not only dodging those attacks, he was also landing his own hits at the same time. Not to mention that black flames that were appearing when his spear landed a strike also had her curious. Oh yeah, if you guys remember, when our hero fought with Seon, she was out cold, so she doesn't know about those flames. Seeing our hero's grin, she knew he was just toying with that monster at this point, which got her wondering if this man truly was a rookie like her, because none of this made any sense. In the middle of their battle, the monster almost landed a hit on our hero, but he moved out of the way. After leaping back some distance, he out of nowhere tossed his weapon into the air. This shocked both of them because it made no sense for him to toss his only way of taking on that monster away in the middle of the fight. As for the monster, it kept charging at our hero, who wasn't even moving anymore. But then, as the thing was inches away from his face, it suddenly stopped, and before both their eyes, the monster started falling to the ground. As for the spear, it came crashing down, diving straight into the back of its neck. But even after all that, our hero noticed that thing was trying to get back up, and he realized he needed to finish this off immediately before it regained its strength. To both their horror, our boy twisted his spear, resulting in a final scream being released by that monster, after which everything fell silent. Minhee, completely stunned, wondered what he had even witnessed just now. A newbie hunter soloing a monster that not even multiple hunters like him could take on. Our boy snapped him out of his daze and asked him to come closer because he had a question. He wanted to know if monsters like this one were normal in low-level areas such as this one. Obviously, the answer was no. On top of that, they weren't even near the core of the rift where high-ranking monsters usually appear. As for this creature, it seemed like something from a grade 3 rift. Hearing everything, our hero started brainstorming and recalled the man's words, who told him the alpha rift of this place was unclassified, that can grow stronger over time. If that was the case, the only explanation was that the rift of this island has gone up to grade 3. Sang-ah refused to believe those words. After all, according to the briefing, this rift was nowhere near that dangerous. Our boy told her to think about it for a moment because there was no other way to explain this situation. Minhee also agreed with our boy and suggested heading back immediately to find other hunters before something bad happened to them, but our boy refused to do anything of the sort. When asked why, he reminded them that they were on the same boat as the rest of those hunters, so he couldn't be running around looking for hunters to save around the whole island, knowing more of these things could be lurking around because that was just suicide. On top of that, their mission is to identify and eliminate any new corrosion rifts, not save hunters in peril. Plus, all of them knew what they were signing up for when they took this task. Sang-ah tried reasoning with our hero, asking what if he were in those people's situation and someone with the strength to save him refused to do anything. Yeah, no. Our boy asked the girl if she was seriously saying he should risk all their lives to save some strangers. He made it clear he wasn't doing this because he was heartless. He was being realistic. Because in this world, some deaths are unavoidable, and once a person faces a death like that, it changes them forever. Oh god, don't tell me he ended up handing over that kid he saved in the first chapter to that evil nun. That's just messed up. Back in the present, he was telling Sang-ah to stop thinking with her heart and start using her brain instead, because if she wanted to survive in this world, she needed to change her mindset. After a while, they arrived at their destination, and after scouting the area, our boy gave the two the green signal to crash here for the night because there were no signs of any corrupted beasts nearby. Walking up to Min-hee, he asked what he was looking at. The man showed him some flashes of light in the distance, which were said to be the other hunters who were camping in that forest. Seeing them make such a rookie mistake, our boy knew these people wouldn't survive the night if this continued, because if another one of those creatures was lurking in the woods, it would easily spot all their locations and none of them would be able to escape. So he told Min-hee to contact the rest and warn them of what was going on this island. With that taken care of, the three of them were seen sitting around, with Min-hee explaining to the two newbies how to destroy a rift. According to his explanation, all they need to do is destroy the core, and all the corrupted beings connected to that rift would disappear. That didn't sound too bad to our boy because all he needed to do was sneak in, destroy the core, and the whole thing would be over. Cut a couple of minutes and Sang-ah was seen sound asleep. Same thing with Min-hee. He was also snoring in another corner. As for our boy, he was supposed to keep watch, but instead he handed the job over to a device that could sense nearby rift monsters and alert him when they appeared. The reason he was doing this was that he wanted to end this quickly and didn't want anyone getting in his way. With that, he was seen running towards the location, but then it happened. He spotted something unexpected blocking his path, and that something was a hideous-looking giant lizard-like monster that was staring right at him. Cut to the Hunter Association headquarters, where multiple reports of hunters deployed on the island going off radar reached the command center. The man in charge of the operation, instead of admitting he screwed up, which resulted in so many people losing their lives, started putting the blame on all those hunters, saying they couldn't even handle an unclassified rift. Turning towards another man, he shouted for him to arrange for reinforcements and send in any available hunters as backup. Just then, someone informed him about a person who was approaching the Alpha Corrosion Rift. Furious, he asked who this person is and ordered the man to contact them immediately and stop them. The man informed his superior it was a hunter by the name of Chansok, who was also the first one to report the Corrosion Rift upgrade. Hearing that, the man ordered him to contact that person immediately and find out what is going on that island. Cut to our boy, who was seen running for his life from the giant lizard monster. That was when he received a call from the headquarters, and the ones contacting him immediately regretted reaching out to him, because our boy was straight up cursing at all of them. And I'm not even kidding here. No filters, no nothing. The guy was saying stuff that these people probably never even heard their entire lives, and who could blame him? It was all because of their incompetence that he was in this mess in the first place. Cut to our boy, who was coming up with a plan to deal with this creature, because in his current state, his paradox flame wasn't strong enough to take out that monster. And the reason he wasn't relying on his flame was because he had already drawn most of this island's mana during his fight with that bat monster. So what was left wasn't enough to deal with a monster of that level. And the only thing he could think of right now was a crazy plan, not just crazy but absolutely stupid, because he wasn't even sure if it would work, but he also knew he had no other choice. It's either that or he ends up turning into fertilizer by this creature's jaws. And then he saw it, his only hope of gathering enough mana to defend himself, the Alpha Rift. So he didn't hesitate and leaped straight into the portal. The creature, not letting up, also jumped in, which was perfect because that was exactly what our hero wanted. Cut back to the Hunter Association headquarters, where the men reported losing signal from our hero, but it wasn't because that monster got to him. It was because he jumped into the Alpha Corrosion Rift. Cut to our boy, and surprisingly the place looked pretty nice. I was expecting it to be a hellish plane with fire everywhere and hideous monsters, but it's actually pretty peaceful here. As our boy was scanning his surroundings, he heard footsteps approaching him from the back. Turning around, he saw that same purple monstrosity standing before him, but unlike last time, our hero wasn't planning on running from the thing. The creature wasn't in the mood for pleasantries either, so it lunged at our boy with its jaw wide open. Seeing the thing coming, our boy started coating his whole spear with his flames, and with no one around to hold him back anymore, he was fully prepared to go all out and burn down everything around him without the fear of harming anyone. Next panel, swoosh. He flew through the giant monster with lightning-fast speed, and the whole world seemed to freeze for a moment, until the agonizing screams of the monster rang out as its entire body was engulfed in flames. Watching the creature scream, our boy knew this wasn't over yet, so he began gathering all the mana from this plane to recharge his body. And surprisingly, compared to the mana on Earth, this one was far more potent. As a result, it started spreading to every corner of his body, widening his mana pathways and making them stronger. By the time he was finished, his whole body was buzzing with energy. As for the creature, using what little strength was left in its body, it stood back up. And since it was clear to the monster that this was its end, it refused to go down alone and let out a loud screech. As that happened, our boy noticed some kind of ripples forming above them. Turns out the creature was calling for reinforcements, and it succeeded, because our boy found himself surrounded from all sides by those bat monsters. But unlike last time, he was far stronger, and with his body filled to the brim with mana, he activated his flames to release all of that stored up energy in one violent explosion, and the whole place turned into charcoal, with all the bat monsters burning in black flames. Although he could feel his strength increasing several fold, He was far from what he used to be in his previous life, meaning he would need to find that core and destroy it as soon as possible. And he jinxed it, because just as he said those words, he heard a demonic voice calling out to him. Before he had a chance to turn around, a shadowy figure appeared behind him with a weapon in hand. And then, boom! The whole place shook as the creature swung its blade. Luckily, our hero managed to move out of the way at just the right moment. As for the creature, he found it genuinely intriguing. Not only did it possess the ability to speak, but it also possessed intelligence, because it had been watching him all along and was waiting for his flames to die down so it could strike when our boy was vulnerable. As for the core of this place, yeah, it was standing right before our hero, meaning if he wanted to end this once and for all, he would need to take out this monster. So he got ready, wondering if his body would be able to handle that technique. To test it, he started running at the monster, and after closing the distance, he swung his spear, but the creature managed to dodge the attack. But then something started happening. The place where our boy had landed that attack began to glow, after which the thing saw cracks forming on its weapon. With that, bam! The creature went flying through the air as all that energy tore through its body. But the creature wasn't done, so it immediately launched one of its own attacks, but our boy managed to dodge it with ease. And using the chance, he swung his own spear, but the thing used its agility to its advantage and leaped over our boy to catch him from the back. But what it didn't realize was that it was already checkmate. It had walked straight into our boy's trap. Boom! The thing was flying through the air once more, and this time our hero wasn't planning on letting it recover either. So he delivered a devastating slash right on the monster's chest, resulting in its whole body being torn into pieces by the follow-up attacks. And just like that, our boy soloed this whole rift. To his surprise, after the monster was defeated, the mana released from its body started to take the form of some kind of a box. Curious, our hero started opening the thing to see what was inside. Cut back to the headquarters where everyone was panicking, with the man barking out random orders to the staff. But no matter how much he tried, nothing was working. More fatality reports kept coming in, and just as he had lost all hope, they received a transmission from the island, which was from our boy. Opening the message, all of them read through the text, stating that our hero had managed to clear the corrosion rift on Jiadondo Island. And then it happened. Confirmation reports started flooding in, with people claiming the monsters on that island had started to disappear, and they even lost the signal of that alpha rift. Cut back a couple of minutes, and someone was seen carving their way through those goblin-looking monsters. From that electric attack, we already know who it is. Sang-ah, who's going all out against an army of those creatures who got drawn to their location. And with her was Min-hee, and both of them were wondering where our boy disappeared to. Looking at the army before them, Min-hee knew this was their end. Sang-ah knew it too, because both of them were almost at their limit. But there was no end to these monsters, no matter how many they take out. To make it even worse, her leg got injured during the battle, and she wasn't sure how long she would be able to keep this up. As she was thinking, she dropped her guard for a moment, and a goblin managed to close in. But not giving up, she immediately changed stances. Just as she was about to swing her blade, she felt a sharp pain coursing through her body, and when she looked down, her leg had completely given out on her at the worst possible time, because a bunch of those things were coming at her. Sensing something was wrong, Manny quickly turned around to assist the girl, but in doing so, he failed to notice the goblin that was coming at him, and just like that, complete silence. Cut to Sang-ah, who closed her eyes, accepting this was her end. But when nothing happened, even after a couple of seconds, she slowly opened them to see what was going on, only to find all of those goblins turning into ash as dark flames ate through their bodies. And no, this wasn't our boy. Well, technically he was the reason those things were burning away, but no, he wasn't the one who came here to save them. Cut to the next morning, and paramedics along with new hunters had arrived at the location to save the surviving hunters. That was when all of them saw our boy walking out of the forest, looking all exhausted. All eyes turned towards him, even those two fools who ditched him to die at the beginning, and none of them were able to believe that this rookie kid was the one who cleared a grade 3 rift all by himself. Ignoring their whispers, our boy spotted his two teammates sitting not far from him, so he quickly approached them to see how they were doing. Manny thanked the kid for everything he did for them, and asked if he was crazy going after a rift core all by himself. Our sly fool said some cheesy lines like, "To protect the hunters, it wasn't my body that moved, but my heart." The girls sitting behind him almost threw up hearing him say those words, since he was the one who refused to help the other teams after coming across that first bat monster, and now he was making himself seem like some noble hero. In the middle of their conversation, our hero got approached by another person. Turning around, he saw a man introducing himself as Bayan Jong-tai from Korea Operating Corporation. And the reason he came looking for our hero was because he was invited to meet with the mayor of their city. Fast forward, and our hero was back in the city, standing outside the president's mansion. As he was standing there wondering what could be the reason for this sudden call, he spotted a person coming out to greet him. This man is Lee Pilji, another person working under the president. Cut to the inside, and both men were making their way to the president's office, with the guy going on and on about how the president had been looking forward to this meeting. Obviously, our boy didn't give a rat's ass about the stuff that was coming out of his mouth. All he wanted was to get this over with so he could head back home. Arriving outside the man's room, Lee Pilji informed the president that their guest was here. Inside the room, our hero spotted a fat man by the name of Park John sitting at the main desk. The guy was welcoming him into his office while telling Lee Pilji to prepare some coffee for the two. After a while, both men were seen making small talk, with the fat man thanking our hero for what he did on that island, explaining they weren't able to clear that place of those monsters because of their limited budget. Our boy just answered, telling the guy it wasn't a big deal, he was just doing his job. So the guy asked if it was true about this being his first commission job, and our boy answered yes. For some reason, that hyped up the fat man and it startled our hero. That was when our hero heard the man delivering an obviously pre-prepared speech, and he realized something was fishy, but still, he decided to hear the guy out anyway. Fatman started explaining how he had been working for this country yada yada yada, all that stuff which, honestly, didn't really interest our boy. And then, in the end, he promised our hero he was going to make sure he never faces a problem as a hunter and always gets the best opportunities. The story cuts back a couple of minutes when our hero was on his way to meet with the fat man. That was when the man driving his car asked our boy the reason for choosing the life of a hunter. Although that question surprised our boy, he answered with a straightforward line saying, "If there is a clogged toilet spewing filth, someone has to dive into the shit water and unclog it." Hearing his answer, the man commented that he was going to become a very famous hunter, but not because of his skills. It would be because of all the companies that would want to shoot commercials with him and all the famous TV shows where he would be featured. Our boy asked the man if he was saying he would change because of all that fame and fortune. The man answered yes, explaining that he wasn't the first hunter he had met with remarkable talent. All of them became intoxicated with popularity and honor, losing sight of their duties. He told our hero this country was the only safe haven left on Earth, where people could live their lives without the fear of those monsters. But with how things were going, he was sure it wasn't going to last. After he was done saying what he wanted to, he warned our hero that he was going to attract the attention of many desperate people who would try to use him for their own gain, and he hoped he won't change and continue to be a symbol of hope for everyone. Cut back to the present, and our hero finally understood what that man was trying to say. But the thing was, he saw this coming from a mile away. After all, this wasn't his first rodeo with power-hungry people. Having lived such a long life and suffered through countless hardships, he already knew this was inevitable. With that in mind, he asked the fat man what he was offering in return for his support, and if it had something to do with the upcoming election. Turns out he was right, that was exactly what the man wanted. To change how people viewed him by riding on our boy's newfound fame. Because with how he had been running things, it was just a matter of time before he got thrown out of this office. And the way he wanted to do it was to lie to the public that he was a talent scouted by him, a rookie who came from nowhere. But the mayor recognized his talents and nurtured him into becoming a powerful hunter. To sweeten the deal, the man promised our boy that he was going to secure many contracts with overseas companies operating in their city. For instance, the model for this coffee brand's contract was about to end soon, so they could replace their face with our hero's. Before the guy could continue, our hero asked him to stop and straight up asked the guy if he takes him for someone cheap. He told the guy he knew he was desperate, so there was no use hiding it with all these cheesy offers. On top of that, he wasn't a fool and knew very well he didn't need his backing for any of that stuff, because all those companies would come looking for him on their own after the world finds out what happened on that island. Seeing him getting ready to leave, the man desperately tried to stop him, offering him high-paying commissions, but our boy wasn't interested in any of that. And just before leaving the room, he asked the fat man to give his congrats to the coffee mix model, since she'll be able to extend her contract. Cut to the outside, and two men were seen standing under a bridge discussing something in secret. The one with the hoodie asked the guy in the black suit if their test of Jiadongdo Island truly failed, and the guy answered yes. But he did have some good news for the hoodie man, and when asked what it was, he showed him a clip from this year's Hunter Association certification exam. And yep, it was our boy using his black flames to take on Siyun, and for some reason, seeing his ability brought a smile to the hoodie guy's face. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave the video a thumbs up, and if you want to know what happens next, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.